This video looks at surface area review. Now your learning goal is students will be able to calculate the surface area of prisms and cylinders and composite solids. Now when you are looking at surface area and calculating surface area, you need to do three things. Number one, break up the 3D shape into its 2D shapes. Okay, so what shapes is the solid made up of? Two, find the area of each of the 2D shapes. And then you'll calculate the total surface area by adding up all the individual areas. So one way to think about surface area is how much paint you would need if you wanted to paint the shape. So in the first example here, we've got a cube. Now a cube, every side is equal. So to find the surface area, we think, well, how many sides have we got? In a solid cube, we have 6 sides. Okay, so it's 6 sides. Each side, the area equals, in this case, 13 squared, which is 169. Your total surface area would be 6 lots of 169. So 6 times 169 is 1014. It's area, so it's squared units. Okay, now be careful when you have things like this. If it's an open cube, so if it said it was an open cube, then we would have to only do 5 sides because it wouldn't have a top. So always read the question, assume it's always solid unless told otherwise. Now the next rectangular prism, we have front and back, which would be the same. Our sides, because we have a square on the front, you can see all these sides are the same. It's going to make rectangles that are the same. So we'll go the sides there, and each of those sides will be the same because of that rectangle. So if I'm working out my front, it's going to be 13 squared, which is 169. If I work out my side, it's going to be 18 times 13, and 18 times 13 is 54. So my total surface area is we have a front and back, so 2 lots 169, and then we have the 2 sides, top and bottom, so 4 lots of the 54. So 6 sides in total. So 2 times 169 is 338, plus 4 lots of 54 is 216. So 338 plus 216 is 554 centimetres squared. Now let's look at a different type of rectangular prism. So we just did one, that the rectangular prism we just did had a square front. This one has a rectangular front. So it's going to create different sides. We're going to have this front here, which would be the same as the back. We're going to have this side here, which would be the same as the other side. And then we're going to have a top and bottom. Okay, so if I look at the front, my area would be 2 times 7, which is 14. If I look at the side, it's going to be, area is going to be 7 times 4, which is 28. And if I look at the top, or the T that you can see there, the area is going to be 2 times 4, which is 8. So my total surface area is equal to, we have 2 lots of each of these, so 2 lots of 14 plus 2 lots of 28 plus 2 lots of 8. So again, make sure you've got those 6 sides. And if you don't, you've missed something. And as I said before with a cube, is it a closed box? Always assume it is unless told otherwise. If it was an open box, then I'd have to take off maybe the top, if that's what was missing. And I'd have 2 lots of 14, 2 lots of 28, and only 1 lot of the 8. Okay, when we're looking at the triangular prism here, I need to know the height of my triangle. So that front and back, and I'll put an F on there. We've got a front and back, and then we're going to have a bottom, which will be the 8 times 23, and then we're going to have a side, which will be the 23 times 6. But for that triangle, the first thing I need to do, knowing that that's 8 and that's 6, is work out the height, because the area of a triangle is a half times base times height. So my right angled triangle is the bottom is going to be 4, and that hypotenuse is 6. So I've got c squared equals a squared plus b squared. I don't know my height, so it's going to be 6 squared equals 4 squared plus my height squared. 36 equals 16 plus h squared. Take away 16 from both sides, and I get 20 equals h squared. So h is the square root of 20. I'm going to leave that like that. Okay, so for the front, my area would be half times base times height, which is a half times 8 times that square root of 20, which will be 4 square root of 20. Now we know how to simplify surds, but in this case, it's not our final answer, so I'm going to leave it like that. My side, the area is going to be 23 times by 6. So 23 times by 6 is 138, and then that bottom is going to be 8 times 23. And 8 times 23 is 184. So my total surface area is the front I've got 2 of, so it's going to equal 2 lots of the 8 square root of 20. My sides I have 2 lots of, so 2 lots of 138, and then I only have one base, which is 184. Okay, so that's 16 square root of 20, 2 times 138 plus 276 plus 184. Go to my calculator, and this is where I'll put in that square root of 20, so I'll evaluate that. So just remember, you don't have to simplify the surd unless that's your answer, and it's not in this case. So it's approximately 531.55. It's squared centimetres. Okay, now our last one here is a cylinder, and you have to think about the cylinder opening up. If you unpack that cylinder, you end up with 2 circles. So each of those circles is going to be pi r squared, and then you end up with this rectangle here. Okay, now that rectangle, the side of that rectangle is going to be around that circle. So this here, this length here, is the circumference of the circle. So when we look at the area of that curved surface, it's the circumference of the circle, which is 2 pi r, times by the height of my cylinder. Okay, and then you've got the 2 circles, which are pi r squared each. So my formula, if you want to try and remember a formula, you don't have to though, you can remember how to get it, is going to be 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h, where this 2 pi r h is our curved surface. Now, be really careful with cylinder questions, because it could say it's a pipe, in which case you're only going to have the curved surface, so there won't be 2 ends. Or you could have, you know, like a can that's been opened, so you'll only have 1 circle. So just be careful when you're working out the questions. Okay, so if I was working out, I don't have an example, so let's work out an example. So calculate total surface area of a cylinder with height 5 centimeters and radius 2 centimeters. Okay, so our total surface area is going to be my 2 lots of pi r squared, so my 2 circles, plus my radius of the circle, which is my circumference of the circle, which is 2 pi r. Remembering the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. If you don't, that's what it is. Times pi the height, which would be the side of the rectangle. Plug in our information, 2 times pi times by my radius squared, plus 2 times pi times 2 times by my height. So 2 times 2 squared is 2 times 4, which is 8, so that's 8 pi. The next one is 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 5 is 20 pi. So just like the one in class where I didn't evaluate the pi's until the end, I then go 28 times pi, and that's approximately 87.96, and it would be, my units are centimeters squared. Okay, but just like what I've got in the box here, be careful with these questions. So as I said there, what if, we had a can and the lid was missing? You would only have the 2 pi RH, the curved surface plus one circle, which would be pi r squared. What if we had a pipe? We'd only have the 2 pi RH. Okay, so just be careful of that. So your surface area in this case would be 2 pi RH. Your surface area in this case would be pi r squared, one circle, plus your 2 pi RH. Now your exercises to complete are exercise 5.2, page 277, and you can read that, and I'll put that on your Google Classroom.